How's it going? I know it was a busy day. I think we ended up with 10 picks today. Don't know how we really did that or where we started, but I do know we ended with 11 total. Also today, during the draft, traded Tavon Austin, and if I were to say anything about one of my favorite human beings on the planet, one of the most competitive, mentally tough, glad I was a part of his life, tough to make those decisions, but as a human being, last year, Tavon, unfortunately, when Sean got here, had the wrist injury and couldn't get on the field, fell behind, and unfortunately for him, we kind of moved on in terms of adding people to the roster, and by the time he was able to get back, was never really able to get in the rotation. So we did feel like Tavon deserved a chance to go try to be Tavon, but I can't say enough about that human being. Just what he went through last year, where he was at on the depth chart by the end, but still being an unbelievable team guy. Can't say enough about that human being.
Yeah, in the short year that you're around him, what a special, unique person he is. Clearly an incredible talent where, you see the athleticism, the explosiveness that he has to be able to create the big plays. And, you just look at it, I think you find out a lot about people when they go through some hardships or some adversity. And all he continued to demonstrate is that he's all about the right stuff. Can't really echo enough about what Les said, just the amount of respect you have for the human being, but also the football player. And he's the epitome of class. Wish him nothing but the best. And I know he'll do great things for the Cowboys, and there's a special place for Tavon because those decisions are never easy. But what a class act! What an impressive human being, most importantly, and a lot of respect and appreciation for Tavon.
Hey Les, over here on Tavon. I'm sure you had a lot of high hopes when you took him a few years ago. I understand last year was a completely different scenario, but just in general, his time here, did you ever feel like you were able to kind of ever find the right fit for him in an offense? And if not, why do you feel like it just maybe didn't work out for Tavon the way you would have hoped with the Rams?
It's a good question. Tavon led our team in touchdowns, the year before, we signed into the contract, and it was never necessarily to be a number one receiver, but he was a weapon for us on special teams and in the offense, and he led our team in touchdowns, and he had a lot of special teams touchdowns called back. So he was just a unique weapon on offense. I do think us going through a lot of QB changes, even coordinators, probably hindered his progress, because it's anytime you're, let's call it a shorter receiver. If you were with the same QB for a while, you get used to, let's call it passing the ball to that person. But there's a lot of factors that go into it. But, I can't say – I don't want to say – the guy led our team in touchdowns and was a threat to go the distance. So, he did have a productive career with us. And it would have been interesting to see if he would have been healthy last year, how it turned out. But it didn't, and this is where we are today.
Les, what impressed you the most about the center from Michigan State that you led off?
He's just one of those guys where if you've been watching college football players, for a month in December, all fall, month in December, month in February, all April, and you're asleep, you're kind of dozing off, put the Michigan State center on film, and it's just fun to watch because he just, not only does he block people, he just finishes and, gets position and drives people off the ball. And then they play some good Maurice Hurst, some of the good players he played against. Just a fun guy to watch. But other than that, really good technician, very smart, great guy, but mean on the field, one of those types. And, just everything you draw up in a Michigan State center.
Les and Sean, had you guys been talking to Dallas about trading Tavon before the draft? And if so, can you take us through that? If not, can you kind of take us through how this deal came together so quickly?
Back during the combine and all that, when the rumors were we going to release him, not all of that. Teams were checking in, probably trying to figure out were we really going to release him or not. Obviously, we restructured his contract and all of that. So, and then today, really out of the blue, teams have checked in, hey, are you still going to keep him? And all of that through this whole process. And, yes, we are. We restructured his contract. This kid's fast, good player. So, but, somewhere in the draft today, got a text from and a call from Stephen Jones, and he asked if he'd be available. So talked with Sean, and we thought it was the best thing for us and Tavon.
Yeah, a lot of the same. Les had the majority of the dialogue that went on, but I think it's a combination of, you certainly don't like to lose players that can make plays and do special things like Tavon's done over the course of his career, but I think you also want to be mindful of what a special, unique person he is, and we felt like that opportunity, and all things being considered, it was the right thing, and to do right by him as well with the way that he's handled this last year, because you have so much respect for the human being, and I think that's a credit to Tavon, and I think he'll do good things for the Cowboys and under Coach Garrett and Coach Linehan's leadership.
Sean, coming in, linebacker was a presumed position of need for you guys. I know it's 5 minutes after the draft, but you added 4 guys here, I think. How do you think that position kind of shakes out now? How can maybe some of these guys fit in?
Yeah, I think you look at it, you like some of the depth that you're able to create with some guys that can play on the edges, whether it be the Sam or the Will linebacker. You're able to address the inside linebacker spot with a guy like Micah Kaiser, who's a great communicator, got a great command. You look at what he's done, and you listen to his coaches talk about just the way that he handles himself day in and day out. You bring him in for a visit. He's an incredibly impressive person. And then you talk about Howard from TCU and some of the things that he's been able to do athletically. So you add some interior players that can do some different things and allow us to be a little bit more versatile at some of those spots and create and add some depth. And then you got some different guys coming off the edge that can play that Sam and Will linebacker spot. So I think really our personnel staff, you can't say enough about them being able to have it tiered down in a manner where we were able to kind of just strategically go right down, end up with 10 picks today, and that's a real credit to Les and his staff. And I know the coaches are all excited about getting 11 picks in here and seeing how these guys compete and add to our team.
Yeah, I'll before you go, I appreciate Sean mentioning my name, but I can't say enough about our player personnel staff, from the area scouts on up, from the guys who took these guys on top 30s from the airport and back and let us know what they were like when they let their guard. All of that, it's a great process. Sean's staff, they're very involved, and when you get involved in the personnel side of it, it's not easy. You get, there's a lot of extra work on your tape, and they do a heck of a job. This day couldn't have gone as smooth as it did without their work.
Les, how would you evaluate, and Sean, how would you evaluate your draft overall, given where you're coming into it without a first-round pick and without a second-round pick? Did it go as you expected, better maybe than you expected?
I always say time will tell, right? We'll find out in a couple of years, and that's the honest truth. But knowing that we didn't have picks early, and we focused on those middle rounds, we had a lot of players that different scouts, coaches, position groups wanted. So we did think that if we could turn some of these, a lot of the, let's call it 4th, 5th, 6th round picks into more picks, we'd have a chance to get fits and fill some roles or get players with traits to have a chance to fill some of those roles. So that was the strategy, and we were able to do that today, and now we'll go to work and get them on the field and start developing them.
Yeah, a lot of the same. I think really you see where you go into a situation, you want to have some different scenarios, and you kind of anticipate some of the things that could potentially take place to be able to come away with 11 players that we feel good about, that really supplement us with some depth on both sides of the line of scrimmage on offense and defense, and then to be able to get a running back, that we feel like adds some toughness to that room and will add some, competition. Those are the things that you feel really good about. I think going into year 2, you could be a little bit more strategic with some of the needs because collectively as a coaching staff and with our personnel staff, we have a much better idea of how our players that have been here fit in the way that we want to utilize them in our offensive and defensive systems, and then how they would help Bones as well. So I thought today was a credit to them again, and now it's our job as a coaching staff to do a great job developing these guys and continue to have a competitive roster where it makes it difficult for us to whittle it down to that 53 when those decisions have to come.
You want to go?
Yeah, sure. I think we're not planning on having a rookie camp. We'll have something as far as it'll be more similar to a tryout camp, Gary. That'll be in a couple weeks where I think you look at it. Some of the people that we envision adding to really get us to around that 87 to 88. Then you've got a couple spots to get up to your 90 allotment. I think we'll use that as an opportunity to see if we can find some spots just based on the numbers and how we want to allocate that 90 over the course of some of the different positions. So. Again, it's a credit to feeling good about some of the depth that you have some understanding with some of the guys that are available in the latter half of the draft and through college free agency. Our guys, have done a great job with that, and I think that comfort level that we do have has enabled us to take that approach as a feeling like you need to have that rookie mini camp.
We've got two more guys. Les, it looked like a big group of this draft class were academic all-conference guys, especially the guys up front. Was that random, or was that something that you guys were trying to target?
I don't think you ever start and say, let's just get academic All-Americans, but I do think that the human beings that take pride in, let's call it, their student athletes, right, and we've all been in college and sometimes school's not a priority, but that human being actually says, you know what, I'm going to make this a priority. I'm going to sacrifice some things in college to be really good in school. I think just those traits as a human being bleeds over to, those guys, in the football meeting room and on the field and the preparation they put into and all of that. So I think, we like to call it sometimes you're drafting traits, sometimes you're just drafting really good football players. And I think those guys fall into that. You know what? They're football players, and whatever mixture of, DNA, that leads to that, I think that's a part of it.
Yeah, and Les, I'm sure some of this is coincidence, but over these last couple of drafts, you've taken a lot of players who participated in the Senior Bowl. Why has that been such a kind of useful kind of tool for you of evaluating players?
I think you get to see guys go compete against, really good, seniors in their class. And a lot of times, depending on what conference the player came to, we drafted a kid from Maine who – I think first went to the East-West, and we always say he graduated to the Senior Bowl. That means he got, and it might have even been the NFLPA game, but he went to either NFLPA East-West, had a good week, got called up, from AA to AAA, and when you're able to see a guy from Maine, go, go block, let's call it a guy from Oklahoma that we drafted, Obo, and you wouldn't get to see that when you're watching him play at Maine, and you get to see that at the Senior Bowl. So I do think it helps you go, okay, some of the traits that he has will translate to this league.
Yeah, for Sean and Les, a lot of linemen, linebackers. John Kelly, a skill guy. Can you explain why you guys chose him and what you think he might bring to it?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, anytime that you're able to acquire people that can make plays with the ball in their hands, that's always something that's exciting. And I think looking at this running back draft class, we felt like John did some good things, especially, some of the offset gun runs that he had at Tennessee, playing against really high level of, caliber of defenses that he's playing week in and week out. And you see the explosiveness, you see the toughness, the way that he finishes runs. We feel like he'll be a good complement, to Todd, and we've got Malcolm Brown in place. So those are some guys that have had some success in this league. We feel like John will be a nice complement to that room to add that competition that we always try to create. And I think when you look at up front, we feel really good about our starting five and some of the guys that we were able to re-sign in free agency. And you look at it developing Austin Blythe, but then when you add three linemen that somebody with Joe Nopun who can add some depth on the edges, learn under Rob and Andrew like we talked about, and then you talk about the competitiveness of Allen and what he's done year in and year out at the Big Ten, former wrestler. You see his leverage, and then Demby's a guy that I think has some guard tackle flexibility. So we're able to acquire 3 players that kind of fit the mold of what Coach Cromer is looking for and guys to develop, and that's something that you feel really good about.
I was going to say, Alden, the Senior Bowl is more intentional, but that we drafted our last 2 picks were from played college football in Dallas. That's a true coincidence.
All right, write that down. Thanks, guys.
All righty.
I thought that was a Wade Phillips pick.
Did y'all hear what? Did y'all hear what?
I don't want to do that. Well, you know what? You don't have a choice.
Here's what Brian Allen said. He went hashtag exclamation point. You can figure yes. And that was my favorite.